Not as much talk as I thought would be, though.
Well, the game sucked.
The game side, yeah. Trash.
It was bad. I didn't actually watch a ton of the game. I watched like the first quarter. Then I watched like a little bit before halftime, watched halftime, watched maybe the first 2 drives after, and I was like, all right.
It was brutal. We
of the big game, because you can't say the other word.
Big game.
We copyright.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. We all got together at my dad's house. We were eating some food. But yeah, it was pretty boring. We were just kind of like, at one point, we all had a couple of dollars in our pocket. And we're like, all right, we'll just bet $1 on this next drive because we were so bored. Yeah. We're like, I bet he scores a touchdown, or I bet he doesn't. And of course, they didn't score a touchdown for forever. So it was like, yeah, doing what we could to do just to spice it up because it was brutal.
So when I was growing up, my grandma, that was her day. Was Super Bowl Sunday. Like, they threw this massive party at their house every year. Every friend they had, we went over there. My whole family was there. Like, it was her thing. She loved the Super Bowl. And they'd have the big pot where you squares and all the stuff. And it was always a wild time growing up because they all were drunker than Cooter Brown by the end of the game. And things were going on. I actually learned that Windex cleaned wine out of carpet that night at one of those. Like, I mean, just all those sorts of things. But ever since she passed away, like, I don't know. It's like one of those things, like, is tied to a memory for me. So, like, if something's going on, like if someone invites me to a Super Bowl thing and it's people I want to hang out with, like, I'll probably go. But like, I don't have this like, it's Super Bowl Sunday. Like, I don't really care. I do normally watch the halftime show because I like the music stuff, and so I always kind of tuned in. I was actually tuned in this time because I was interested. You know, there's all this rhetoric about Bad Bunny and, you know, his like background and his political stances, and I don't agree with any of them necessarily, and I don't agree with some of the decisions that he makes. I don't agree with the words in his music. If you look at them translated, it's all pretty bad. But for all the crap that people were giving necessarily about him being, I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't understand anything he was saying. I also thought it's an odd thing for the Super Bowl because it just felt not like a halftime show. I thought he handled it really well, though. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's Puerto Rican. Like, everything was about his Puerto Rican heritage. That's kind of cool to me. I mean, I like soccer and international sports, so it's like I'm kind of getting numb to like seeing like used to watching football, and it's like, you know, some rock band or like a country singer singing, and so like it just felt out of place to me. I didn't really, but like all the stuff about him dressing weird or his anti-immigration protests and all these things, like, he could have gone nuclear. Oh yeah, on the world or on America's biggest stage, at least. He really didn't. No, I mean, he really handled it, I thought, like a mature, like, I'm here because I've sold all these records. I'm the most streamed artist in the world. I got my opportunity to be here, and I handled it well. Like, other than the lyrics in his songs, which are undoubtedly
no idea
foul. I looked them up because I was curious. Gotcha. I've heard people say that, and I was like, let me read them, because, you know, people's definition of what foul is. And the first song he sang at the Super Bowl, I looked up the lyrics today because it's a catchy song. From someone who doesn't know what he's saying. and they're pretty rough. Yeah, just vibing with the music, with the sounds, have no clue what he's actually saying. He's saying whatever. It's just all about sex. Yeah. I mean, but it's reggaeton. Not that gives it a pass, but like, that's kind of always part of that music a little bit. Like, but I mean, as far as the visuals of it, the performance itself, like, I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, the Super Bowl itself, I really enjoy like watching the Super Bowl, just because I think there's not another event, especially on TV, like definitely on TV, where the main attraction is itself usually fun. This game, not the case, but most of the time, watching football is fun. It's a good time. Then you also there's no breaks. Like, the whole time, you're like, as soon as you get to the Super Bowl party, there's usually good food. If you go to a good Super Bowl party. So you got the good food. It's usually stuff you never think to eat on a normal day. Yeah, you got some wild combinations of foods going on, but you got some good food, and then usually hanging out with people you like, usually. And then you also have the Super Bowl, which you're watching football, and it's kind of stinky because it's the last football for like
forever. It feels
Spring
like
football's right around the corner, baby.
Yeah, but then it's like such a drought the time to get to actual football season again. But yeah, you got that. So you're watching football, and then the commercials are always there's something going on with the commercials. So there's no break in the action. I think that's what I like about the Super Bowl, because you got the football, the commercials in between, then you got the halftime show, which has got something going on. It's usually fun to watch. Commercials, more football. So it's just like, I don't know. I love watching the Super Bowl and getting together and eating good food. It's just a good time. But yeah, like the halftime performance, we were talking beforehand, before the Super Bowl, we're like, we gotta watch it. Gotta have something, like, it's gonna be crazy. And then he comes out, does his thing, and we're like, well, it wasn't that crazy.
It was like the best version of what I thought he would do.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there was
100%.
nothing about it. Like, other than the lyrics of the songs. I'm not apologizing for the fact, but as someone who does not know what the heck he's saying, I thought the vibe was kind of cool. I mean, there were some dancers that were doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the same thing you all saw, and I had the same opinion you all have. But let's be honest,
J-Lo was way worse.
Anybody else, any other pop star on earth, that's what it's going to look like. People just were mad going in because they did not want a Spanish halftime show from a guy who has worn a dress and is talked bad about the country. I get that. But if we took all that away, and none of us know what he was saying anyway, and we watch it, and it's like, honestly, it's what I would expect a pop star to do at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, nothing about it really surprised me on that end. I don't know. I think that I actually think the Super Bowl this year, unfortunately, was so politically talked about, not even sports talked about beforehand. And it may just be that that's my feed.
Sure.
Because I'm not an NFL guy, so I don't like follow all the pages and see all the news and stuff, but I do all the news stuff. So maybe it's just that I'm in a different feed, and maybe there was a lot of really heavy football conversation leading up, but from what I was seeing, it was a lot of like political and like social conversations and stuff like that. I don't remember that really being a thing other than last year with Kendrick, but it was because he was going to sing the biggest song in the world at the moment that had a diss of one of the biggest artists in the world on it, and who had threatened to sue the NFL if he said it. And so really, I think most people watched last year's halftime to see if he would actually say his name and call him up on national TV. Which he did, by the way. but that was a social, like, cultural conversation. Like, oh, is he going to do it? But this year, it just seems so politically charged, which I think is more of a conversation about just where we're at culturally as a country, where everything has to have this, like, over political social angle. But the people who are doing these things, I mean, what do you expect different from them? I mean, like, it's the NFL. They're there to make money. Bad Bunny's the largest streamed artist in the world. Jay-Z picks the artist for the Super Bowl. I don't think we have a big, high moral, look on Jay-Z thinking he's going to give us, a good, wholesome, which I think Jay-Z's music's awesome. But again, same thing. I don't expect anything different from him. So I think we have this like idea that all of a sudden these things that have always been kind of questionable are going to now become wholesome. And they're just not going to.
No.
In fact, they're going to get worse.
Yep. Yeah, if you're looking for the Super Bowl or the NFL or the United States itself to be like, oh, they need to display good Christian values, you're not looking in the right place, and it's going to let you down, because that's not where the good Christian values lie. It's in your house and in your church and in your family and
100%.
Where you're.
And like the Turning Point doing their own halftime show, I understand that Kid Rock gave a gospel presentation, and I understand that people change their lives. There's a Kid Rock and Snoop Dogg song where when they transition between the two of them, it says, "Kid Rock, you've got the sex rhymes." Snoop Dogg, you got the sex rhymes. Yeah. Like, come on now. Yeah. You're going to I'm not saying he didn't change his life.
I just said the exact same thing at the Super Bowl party. Like, you're going to change it because don't change it to Kid Rock because you're like, oh, he's a good Christian guy. Like, bro, he got some wild songs out there. And like you said, people do change.
People change.
But he is not a Christian artist. Most of his music is not.
And I've seen him on Kill Tony. I've seen him other places. Like, I'm not, again, not saying that he's not a Christian. I'm not saying he wasn't well-meaning and well-intended, because I think he probably was. Yeah. But at the same time, let's not kid ourselves and think that was a better option.
I said the same thing.
This might be inflammatory, but I think it's the white option. Not the right option, the white option. And I mean that.
We actually had two Hispanic members of our family came to the Super Bowl party and watched it, and they loved it. They had a great time. They thought it was awesome. Super Bowl halftime show. They actually speak Spanish, so they know the lyrics of the song, and they're vibing with the song and everything. So
most streamed artist in the world.
But I was listening. I looked at the ESPN article today, and he was actually they were thinking because of he's the most streamed that he would have the most views.
He's like fifth or something.
Yeah. He didn't even beat Usher or.
Which is probably some of the hate. Like some of the people who would have just passively watched it. Yeah. I mean, Turning Point had 5 million people or something like that streaming live or something. It's a lot of people. There's 135 people watching Bad Bunny.
Yeah. Million.
Again. Yeah. 135 million, not 135. There was more than that in the stadium. But I don't agree with him, and I'm not saying that we should have all not turned it off. We probably should have, and we probably should have ignored it. But at the same time, like, let's do it for the right reason. Not just because we're mad at his political stance or not because we don't like his lifestyle choices. We don't agree with those things. But I don't think that's why people were mad that he was on there.
We get our moral compass from the Bible. We get our moral values from the Bible, from God's teaching, from Jesus' teaching, not from what people put on the NFL halftime show. So,
I mean, come on now. It's the NFL. Half of them have broken some law every year. I mean, come on. That's what I remember. I don't remember who it was. It was like an old veteran, and he was like, "Do you think that these are sane people?" He's like, "These are the biggest, baddest dudes in the world who hit each other for a living." He's like, "They're like modern day gladiators." It's like, these aren't your Harvard PhD guys typically. He's like, "That. What do you think?"
Unless they played at Harvard, and then they did.
What's that?
Unless they played at Harvard.
Yeah,
and then
there's a few of them. Or Stanford. But, that's the thing. It's just like, I mean, we're expecting a lot from people in, for what reason? Just because they're who we look up to? Or are we looking up to the wrong people? Are we looking in the wrong places? Do we let our kids look up to these athletes and they get mad when the athletes fail our kids instead of actually being the example set for our kids? Are we putting them in positions to where we can't create enough intrigue around the truth of the gospel that they would rather turn to a Bad Bunny for entertainment? The church is the most creative organization in the world, and yet we can't create something that engages people like he can, and that's sad. And I think it's because we're trying it in the wrong ways. We're going about it the wrong way. We're turning to Kid Rock to give a gospel presentation. Come on. Like that just, I didn't even one time think to turn on the Turning Point one.
I did not. I have no idea how it went. I heard it was good though. I did hear from some people.
It was a great show.
Yeah,
it was a great show. I don't like country music, and I'm not the biggest Kid Rock fan on earth. So there was not one. I don't even know who Bad Bunny was before all this.
I did not either.
Like I
thought it was the girl that was on the Dr. Phil.
Me too.
For like a while.
Me too. That's like, Bad Baby.
Yeah. I was like,
but don't Google her either. But I had no dog in this fight. I still don't understand his music, so I'm not gonna listen to it. But like, I don't know. Anytime someone's like goes all nuclear about something, I'm very questioning of it immediately, because I'm like, I don't agree until I see it, until it affects me, and I can make a determination on my own. Don't tell me what I have to do and shouldn't do. That's just ridiculous.
The Super Bowl itself, the actual play on the field, I really did think the Patriots were going to win, but I didn't know that the Patriots offensive line took a leave day. All of them.
Every single one. Every day off. The little bit I watched, that's exactly what it looked like.
I did not think they were going to do that. And then I'm pretty sure, I didn't realize after the game, but they said his Drake May's shoulder was hurt. He actually had to get a shot in his shoulder before the game because his throwing. Dude was missing easy throws left and right. Like, he had to be hurt. They just didn't let people know that he was hurt.
Yeah.
That's kind of sucky, but whatever. So I thought they were going to win. So I was telling everybody, like, oh, yeah, they got it in the bag.
They did not.
No, they got drummed up.
Yeah, just I'm not a huge NFL guy. I think the game's just a little slow. I don't like the NFL for the same reason I like the NBA, and everybody hates the NBA and likes the NFL. They're the best in the world. It just doesn't. There's not really a lot of surprises typically. Basketball and the NBA the same way. Everybody's going to score a bunch of points. They don't miss a lot.
No defense.
It really comes down to, unless you're OKC, we actually play pretty good defense. It's really strategy and who's got the best jimmies.
Yep.
So
sure,
it's just one of those things. But yeah, I sat here by myself. I ended up watching Lincoln Lawyer because I wanted to finish that. Honestly, didn't.
Well,
care.
you're just coming down from a high, man. Coming down from your vacation, so yeah, it's a little bit different for you guys.
I was exhausted.
But I don't know. You gonna tell people how your vacay was?
It was awesome. It was awesome. If you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you already saw it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, shout out.
But no, we had a great time.
Nice.
We are Harry Potter nerds.
Nice.
Through and through. So we went to Universal and got to go through all the Harry Potter world stuff, and that was pretty fun. All the Mario stuff, and it was cool. It was a good time. We'd been snowed in for a week. So to like not just get out of the house, but to like get on a plane and leave the state was so awesome.
Well, extra.
Yeah, because I could not take anymore. It was but I got stir crazy down there too. So by the end of it, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go home.
He can't put you anywhere, man.
Not for very long. Well, no, we stayed on like in the park, so we didn't have a car, so we couldn't go anywhere. So you were literally like, it's like get on their bus, go to their parks or go to their restaurants, and like on the last day, I was like, I'm going to get a coffee and breakfast, and so I just started walking, and then I ended up in like the hood in Orlando, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to the hotel. I didn't even get any breakfast.
Tired of eating that Harry Potter cheeseburger over and over again.
No, they didn't have that. The Harry Potter stuff, like when you're in England, you're in England, and when you're in Paris, you're in Paris.
Okay,
like
nice.
Everything's kind of tailored to the actual country that they're in.
Nice.
So that was kind of, I mean, the whole thing was cool. But yeah, I'm glad to be back and rocking and rolling. With that, welcome to the Pointman podcast. After you've gotten my opinion of
Everything
of music at the Super Bowl and my vacation. But welcome to the Pointman podcast. I'm Zach. I'm one of the pastors here at Pointman and at that church. This is Luke.
What's up?
Luke is one of our leaders in Pointman. We are a physical men's ministry. We meet together at that church or through that church, and we are right on the cusp of a new semester. I mean, we are 2 weeks away. So if you're seeing this and you are in the Central Arkansas area, whether you're near Sherwood or you're near Cabot, this is the time. We want to invite you to come join us for a Pointman semester. I promise you, I'm not going to talk about the Super Bowl during Pointman. But
I'll come then.
what we're about connecting men to God's word, teaching them how to be the men that God has designed for them to be. And this podcast is just an extension of that. We just want to have an avenue where we can have conversations about specific things. But come join us for a semester where we get into some other kind of topics and some things there with us. And again, February 25th, right around the corner at 6:30 p.m. around Sherwood at the Greens in Sherwood, or at the Cabot Community Place in Cabot. But that's not what we're doing today.
No.
Tonight. It's the end of the day.
Yeah, it is.
I actually should probably be getting ready for bed, but we made a promise this year that
The podcast must go on.
It must. And so we are doing it late night.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah. Pointman after dark.
I think that actually leads us really well into our topic for tonight.
Cool.
Because sometime having success in something requires some sacrifice. And it requires for us to give some things that might give us comfort or give us satisfaction.
Sleep,
rest, so that we can be successful at things in life. But that doesn't come without a cost.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, success is one of those things where you do have to sacrifice things, because you can't have it all. You can't have the whole pie. You got to have a slice of it. And if you're going to have the success that is the good pie, there's some things you're going to have to give up. Like, you're not going to be able to eat the chicken breast because you want the pie. So I don't know if that's a good analogy for success or not.
You should eat the chicken breast.
Yeah, eat the chicken breast.
Take that from a fat guy. But yeah, no, I mean, that's really the truth. No one changed the world in 2 hours, or no one changed the world in 8 hours in a day. it does cost you something. And success for a believer costs us at times things we think we desire, when in reality what God has promised us is much better. And we can't see that long-term outcome sometimes for the short-term discomfort. Sometimes we have to do that, though. We have to be willing to give up something for the good of our health, our faith, our life, because that's what we're told to do. That's what this book tells us to do.
Yeah. Is the 1 John chapter 2? Is that what we're talking about tonight?
Chapter 2, verse 16.
16. Okay.
It says this: "For all that is in the world, the desires of the flesh, the desires of the eyes, and the pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever desires the will of God abides forever." What does that have to do with success? Well, here's my thought on this, and here's where we're going to kind of kick this conversation off. I understand that desires of the flesh, I understand that desires of the eyes, and even the pride of life can come from a position when we are unsuccessful. Desires of the flesh, lust, those sorts of things, alcohol, drugs, all these things that make us feel good short term, they can come at any stage. But I also think that they are enhanced with success. I think at times it's easier, and especially the pride of life, I think those things that when we gain any sort of success, we have to amplify our defense against these things in our life. Pride of life, when we start to think about being prideful with our life, you're not proud of things necessarily. You're not proud of the work unless you're successful in the work. You're not proud of the things. We're ashamed of the things that we fail at. So success brings about these things, but we have to have proper perspective of it. I think, God has gifted every one of us with talent, skills, and abilities, and He's blessed us a lot of times when we find ourselves in a successful position with opportunities. How we use those are really important, though. We can use them for personal gain. If you're a good communicator, you don't have to be a good preacher. You could go be a good self-help coach or a good radio host or a TV analyst or whatever it may be. But if you have a gift of communication and you use it to glorify God, even if you do one of those other jobs or one of those other roles, but you glorify God through it, or you can turn your back on it and you can chase personal success through it.
Yeah, it says these are not from the Father, but are from this world. Things that can trap you and get you off your course. We did a Bible study this past 4 weeks. If you go to that church, you might have been in one of these studies where it talks about the things that can slow you down from the race that you're supposed to be doing. A lot of times, these sins that can kind of creep up and kind of attach themselves to you, and you can't be able to run the race without be able to strip off some of those things. And some of those could be physical pleasures, craving for things that we see in the pride and possessions and achievements that we can accomplish. And so God wants you to be able to run the race with the least amount of things that are attached to you as possible. So I think it's saying here, kind of going along with what we're talking about today, is you need to strip some of those things off to be able to run the race that God has for you. I don't know if you guys talked about that same thing during y'all's last 4 weeks of y'all's community group like we did.
Was that in the last week?
Yes.
I was not there.
Oh, dang.
Now, I am sure that my esteemed group, they don't miss a beat, so I'm sure that they dove into it heavily.
Yeah, I like that last verse, verse 17. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave, but anyone who does what pleases God will live forever. That's good because it makes you realize a lot, like I've been reading Ecclesiastes lately, that everything it's going to be gone one day. So let's
all for nothing.
But there is things that will last forever if you're doing what pleases God. If you fear the Lord, if you trust in the Lord, those things are what's going to last. Not all those other things that you're worried about stressing you out. So I think that's good.
Yeah, and I think 1 John, where we're at tonight, is really a really interesting book. And I think that when we look at the first two chapters of this, I love how John is so black and white when he writes. It's especially this letter, where it's like God is light, everything else is dark. light exposes the darkness. It's like if you are a sinner, but if you say that you're in the Father, but you sin and you don't repent of that sin. Essentially, I'm bastardizing here. I'm sorry, but then you're a liar and you do not tell the truth. Like, he's very blunt about the way it goes. And when we look at that last passage there, though, and he's giving us this, like, we can captivate almost all sin. Or actually, we can captivate all sin into those three things. And it's like a call to be righteous and to live a sinless life. We obviously understand that's not possible. And so what does that mean for us? Well, I think if we were to define, like, true success, we immediately, when we think about success, we think about financial, we think about power, we think about athletic prowess, we think about winning championships. That's success in our mind. That's the success that will fade away. True success is working to know God, to love God, to live a sinless life, if as close as we possibly can to a sinless life, and to gain that eternal life as the reward for a life well lived, to run the race with endurance, to have before you, well done, my good and faithful servant. Like, these are the things we look forward to. That's success. That's the final definition of success. I don't know what you ever thought on that. Yeah,
it was. That's good. I think little by little, after you gain the head knowledge of God, our main goal should be having that relationship with God and following God and having Him be able to come into your life and make you be a different person. So, yeah, there's definitely a difference between, like, having the head knowledge of God, but actually falling in love with God and following after Him. And if you read the Bible and you realize, like, those things that you have, yes, they can control you, but if you give those to God, it can give them away. But yeah, definitely, the world is fading away. So let's go ahead and chase after God and things that last forever. That just kind of hits the nail on the head right there with talking about that.
Yeah, and that's defined through His Word. That when you just mentioned having that head knowledge and then that heart knowledge. Another way of putting, I think, what you said of God. And when Jesus, rather, in the book of John, is talking to the woman at the well. That's what he said. They're arguing because she's a Samaritan, he's a Jew. They don't like each other. They don't get along. They don't agree on things, and they're going back and forth. And she's trying to point out their differences, and Jesus says, "No, you don't understand. Essentially, the time is coming, and is now here when you will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Worshiping Him in spirit, worshiping Him in relationship and connection, personal relationship and personal connection to Him, and in truth. That's the truth of His Word. And it's not enough to have one or the other. It's having both. But I do think that it's hard to have a true understanding of what it means to worship Him in spirit if you don't understand the truth. Because the truth it's God's revelation of who He is to us. And so how can you worship or have a relationship with something you don't know? And so I think we have to reframe our definition of success to what it actually matters. Like, I can go out tomorrow. I used to play a bunch of disc golf, and you can go to a local disc golf tournament and I can win. Or I could back then. I can't anymore. Yeah. Like a random Wednesday night mini tournament. Okay. About 20 guys show up. 2 of them are good. I can go win that one. But that's a minor success. It's like it actually means nothing in the end because I played one dude. One guy who was any good. Anytime we're doing something for gain in this life and success in this life, you're essentially playing a mini game. You're playing a game against a select group of people who are not, comparatively to the divine, have no standing. It's not. But when we look at the long game, we're looking at a game that we can win, but we have to win by making the right decisions and by making the right decision, the main decision to respond to the gospel. And that will lead us to that long-term success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And as you're saying that, it reminds me of this week that I've been watching at work. We have a TV that we can watch while at work because we're working on the desk the whole day, answering phones and emails and stuff. But we have a TV that's been playing the Olympics, and it's been on all day, every day, because it's on during the day because it's night over there, so they're doing most of their stuff at night. So it's live during the day whenever we get to work. But it kind of strikes me as crazy. It's like some of these people, somebody came in, they're like, this is a weird sport to devote your life to, and it kind of struck me. It was like, these people are devoting their entire lives to this sport, and some of them will only get one shot at the Olympics, or maybe 2 shots. I mean, there's not that many people.
The elite ones get maybe 3.
Yeah, it's like if you're really good, you might get 3 of them. So like every 4 years, so you get your. But this, like, it's crazy because you could devote your entire life to this sport, and then in a split of a second, you mess up. There was this bobsledder who was going down and just accidentally got crooked as her one start. Like, there goes her gold. She's not going to get gold or any medals because she got crooked for 1 second. But she probably trained thousands and thousands and thousands of hours.
Yeah. How many times does she run down that ramp?
Yeah,
with her sled for it to that one mistake.
And I was telling Jason, I was like, man, if you end up not getting on the podium, I know you not wasted it, because I mean, you're physically training, maybe you enjoy bobsledding, but it's like you just wasted, like, who knows how many years of your life, and then you just messed it up because you got crooked and going down the chute. I'm like, it's got to be brutal, heartbreaking to, like, I'm doing all this stuff so I can win an Olympic gold or win an Olympic medal, and then you boof it up. And you're like, man, I've wasted a lot of years of my life. When you get to that point, it's like, that's got to hurt bad.
Yeah, but I mean, let's bring it out of the Olympic realm and let's just into the practical, like in our house. Like my son's almost old enough to start playing baseball. When I was his age, I was already playing baseball. And I played from 4 years old until I graduated high school. I cannot count the number of balls I've hit in my life. I cannot count the number of ones I've fielded in practice, games I've played, hours I've spent, probably years of, if we were to tally all the minutes up, I'm sure it would be over a year or 2 of my life that I spent on a baseball field, constantly playing baseball. My dad was obsessed with it. We'd go to practice, and we'd go to the cage after practice, and then we'd get home at midnight and wake up the next morning and go to school. Like, we were always practicing baseball. And then one day when I was like 17 or 18 years old, I was like, I'm done playing baseball. Like, it is just not worth it to me anymore. Yeah. I don't want to play anymore. And I think about that with my kid. Like, what does that give him in his life? Like, what is he going to play pro baseball? No. I mean, it's like, not to mention the fact that it's a world sport, and so there's every foreigner coming in from South America taking every spot in the major league.
Well, you're competing with Shohei, so
but it's and Japan. But it's like we think that that's so important for our kids, and that they're going to be successes in life because of the lessons learned on the baseball field. Am I negating the fact that you can learn lessons on a team? Absolutely not. There's so many things I'll learn from being on baseball and football teams, about camaraderie, about leadership, about work ethic, and all those things. I get that. But, like, at the end of the day, like, we could find better ways for them to learn those lessons that are not spending years of your life playing a game, and something that, and if they enjoy it, fine. Play local ball and have a good time and play. But, like, I see these young kids who are playing like 40 games a year, and they're like 10 years old. I'm like, they don't care. Like, they don't understand the things they're missing out on, the things you're pulling them away from so they can be a successful baseball player. Like, my entire life, I can think of like 3 people that's worked out for, that I've known, and maybe 20 that I don't know that it's worked out for in the long run. Like, that's not a thing. Yeah. Like, but we define success by those metrics, and those are little wins. Yeah, I mean, they're minuscule wins.
Yeah, I was thinking, like you were talking about. I played a lot of football growing up, but I learned how to, like, be tough, resilient, how to game plan, strategize, and all that stuff. But in the end, yeah, there was a lot of time. I did enjoy playing football too, though. So that's another thing. Is like, I actually did enjoy it, and it's probably got me off the couch and quit being a big chubby boy, because I was.
Oh, I love playing both. Yeah. I liked playing both. I'm not mad necessarily. Yeah. I am mad that I didn't do other things, sure. And it was the religion of my house for a lot of my life. So I missed out on a lot of that too. But there's just things that are more important. We have a really just piss poor definition of what success looks like for our families and for our own personal lives. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care what you're doing. It's still a piss poor example of success. Like, it's not where we should be. It's not where we should be trying to lead our families to be. And we've just poorly defined it.
Yeah, it's like the measure of your house or what you own or the things that you do. I think I was listening to a podcast this week. Is about a lot of gut time. I know we talked about it with Dad as well. My dad on a previous podcast, so go back and watch that. But how guys will define their success based off like what their job is and how much money they make, and it's a brutal path to go down, because eventually you could have a really crappy day at work and like, well, my success isn't. I'm not successful anymore because I did a horrible job at work, but God says your success is in Him and not in what you do or your job or how you perform at work.
Two things that you just said that are they're the same outcome, but we put our identity in our success. We put our identity in our job, and our identity should be in God. Like, that's the linchpin thing here, is that we are in this situation where we want to, especially as men, we don't ever want to be bad at something. Like, I'm one of the most competitive people on earth. Like, I will try to win everything, and to a fault, like a bad fault. So I literally try not to engage in things that make me hyper competitive anymore. Like, I don't normally play team sports anymore. I don't, like, even when I'm like go out and like do something with my wife or like playing pickleball or something, I have to be really careful, because I will just turn into like a maniacal person. I'll be at home Googling training plans and practice schedules to like be good at something that's absolutely worthless. Yeah. And it's just a personality trait, but it's something I had to like kind of learn to, like, I can't engage in those things because they will take all of your focus. But then you try to put your identity in that. I did a message years ago in Pointman. It was like the first series I ever did in Pointman. And I brought T-shirts out of my closet. And one was a hockey jersey. And the next one was like a T-shirt I got from a race. And the next one was like a disc golf tournament shirt. And the next one was like, I don't know, a bike race. Like, it was all these different things that I had done or that I was interested in. And the point I was making was, like, if you go in any dude's closet, you will find their identity over the years, because you'll see all the things that they thought were so important to them over that period of time, and then you'll throw it away. And then the next thing, you throw it away, because we are constantly changing what's important to meet what we can be successful in. And I think as we get older, it doesn't get better. It just changes. You can't play football anymore, so you start playing men's softball. You can't play men's softball anymore, so you start, fixing cars. You don't have enough money to buy the next piece for your car, so you give up with that, and so you start hunting, and then you're not very good at that. So you look in your closet and you've got all these shirts. And
you calling me out right now, Zach?
No, I can't hunt either. So, but we all do that.
Yeah.
Find me a dude who can't go in his closet and find 20 years or however old you are, 10 years of hobbies and teams you like or liked or whatever it is. And you're going to find, like, a story of your life and where your focus was at different points in your life. And you may have found some success there, but when you didn't, you moved on to the next thing, or maybe you didn't, so you moved on to the next thing. We want to be successful. But the thing that scares us, I think, and being successful with our faith, is we don't want to put that effort in here, because that scares us. We have a fear that we're inadequate, that we can't understand this book, that we can't dive in it, we can't learn it. People have degrees in this book. They go to school for a long time to understand the intricate details of this book. People study all day, every day to try to understand one verse or one chapter of this book. But that's not the point. Like, this is God's revelation to all of us. He gave us a helper to be able to understand it. So the fear of being unsuccessful as a believer, we've got to get away from that and trust that God will make us successful if we trust in Him. Yeah. And trust in His guidance as we go through it. Not to hard turn us back towards, kind of the success conversation, but I also think that we have this idea that success is evil, that general success is evil. We've even villainized it a bit here in this conversation. General success isn't evil.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible tells us to do everything as if we're doing it unto the Lord. If you are working like you're working for God, you're probably going to find some success. You know, people are going to want the guy who's willing to do, you know, what would you not do for God? You know, well, that's why we have this podcast, because a lot of stuff. But but in a genuine relationship, what would you not do for God? And so you're going to find some success, but we like to villainize it.
Yeah, we do. And there's a good story. Nehemiah rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem. He didn't get to go to build the walls of Jerusalem until he was successful in getting the position that he wanted to get. God allowed him to be successful to be able to be with the king, so he could have close proximity to the king, so that he could go and ask the king if he could go and rebuild the walls. He was successful in that moment because God allowed him to be successful. It wasn't evil for him to go out and be successful, because he was able to do things that God needed him to do, go out and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem to get it back in action. So he was successful in that action.
I mean, think about last pod, we talked about Joshua. Joshua worked and was positioned next to Moses so that he could be
a lot of
successful.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about Joseph. Joseph worked as if he's working for the Lord. Found success, was able to then provide grain, and his family was helped in that. David was found, he was positioned, and he became successful. Like, God didn't just use the broken. He didn't just use the poor. He did, but he also used the kings. He used the wise. He used the wealthy. He used everybody. There's nothing to villainize being a successful person. It's how we handle success that makes it either evil or for good. And that goes back to when we looked in 1 John. You know, we get to that pride of life. You've been positioned. You have an opportunity. What are you doing with it? How are you glorifying God in it? And I say this all the time and stuff, but I think that the best thing we could possibly do is, if you're an accountant, that you're the most trustworthy, honest, caring accountant you can possibly be for the clients that you have. If you're a mechanic, you're the most trustworthy, honest, compassionate, caring mechanic you can be. Doesn't mean you get taken advantage of. Doesn't mean that you give away your services for free. But that you've been put in a position where you can glorify God to people that other people can't reach. Everybody thinks it's I got to give up everything I'm doing so that I can go be a street preacher and live on the streets. It's like, for somebody that's a role. It's not for everybody. I mean, at that point, then the entirety of the church, the entire system would have an issue. Would we quit meeting for church if there was $0? Absolutely not. We're going to keep meeting for church. It would look a lot different. But, you know, we have this opportunity to reach a group of people because we're in a position doing a job or doing a role or coaching a team or leading a community group or whatever it is that we're doing, to reach more people if we just do the best that we can do in our position that we're in to glorify God with our actions. When we get the opportunity to share the gospel, share the gospel. Don't be scared to share the gospel. But it's not, everybody doesn't have to quit being a lawyer, doctor, you know, whatever, teacher, to go and to be a missionary. You already are, but you're doing it through the role that you play in the society.
Yes, Jesus gave that parable of the talents, and he gave one of them 5, one of them 3, one of them 1.
Another good example.
And 5 of them, the one that had 5, he multiplied it. One had 3, he multiplied. One of them just buried it in the ground. And he didn't give them all the same amount of resources. He didn't give everybody the same amount of talents or skills or abilities, but he wanted the responsibilities and the talents and the resources that he gives you. He wants you to do something with it.
Yeah, the Bible
wants you to be successful in your dealings that he gives you.
Almost to the Bible said, but we're trying to not do that no more.
Yeah, we don't do that.
I'm looking for it now.
Which one are you looking for?
The Bible said.
The talents.
No, you've been
weighed, measured, found wanting.
No, I'm done with Daniel for a little bit. I'm just kidding. We've been heavy in Daniel.
Yeah, maybe we're just talking about Night's Tale.
It's also a Night's Tale. That's true. Gosh dang it.
What book are we talking about? Maybe I can help.
I don't even remember. I'm looking.
I'm just looking at all the books right now.
No, I had it saved.
Oh, the notes. Okay. Gotcha. You're scrolling through the books.
Yeah, no.
The Bible.
I had it saved. It was a note. No, it's talking about you've been worthy of little, so you're worthy of much. Don't quote that. Never mind.
That's it from your brain. You didn't hear that.
Yeah. It's late. But I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, essentially, like, you've been, it's the parable of talents, it's just somewhere else in the Bible. The idea in the parable of talents.
So I mean, God expected with that king and the parable expected his servants to do well with what they had. God has the same responsibility for us, has the same expectation for us. He wants you to do well with what you had. I gave you these abilities. Use them how I want you to give them to. Be successful in those abilities that I give you.
And this is I think, a point where we need to talk about, we've defined success. Success comes from our relationship with God. We've talked about it's like monetary or worldly, questioning that statement. Success, evil? No. If you're glorifying God with the success he gives you. If you feel like you're unsuccessful at the moment, I think that you're probably comparing yourself to a worldly standard of success. Not everybody is going to be, we have a culture of comparison. That they're doing something different, and everybody falls into this. I fall into this. I saw, was the coach of the Seahawks like 38 years old? I was like, I'm 33 years old, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing with my life? That's 5 years from now. Like, that's crazy. That's insane that he's 38 years old. Like, I remember being a kid talking about baseball and watching Bryce Harper. And he's like on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He's like 16 years old, and he's like dropping out of high school to go play college baseball and all this stuff. And I'm like hitting 8th on, the JV team. I'm like, dang it. Like, what am I doing? There's all these things. We have this culture of comparison, and we're all victims of this.
Ecclesiastes says it too.
And there's also nothing new under the sun.
Well, no, it literally says there's a great tragedy I'll have to read it, but the great tragedy is people compare. What motivates a lot of people is just comparing to what their neighbors have.
Right. The keeping up with the Joneses effect for a modern quote. But I quit. You can be the best version of who you absolutely are. That sounds like a new age hippy dippy self-help thing, but it's actually not. Where you're at may be where you're supposed to be right now. We always want to look down the road and see where we're going. And, if you work in a corporate environment, you can look at the corporate hierarchy and see where you can end up. If you're in the military, you can look at the promotion schedule and you can see where you could end up if you wanted to. Like, those things make it very easy for us to see growth and easy for us to compare it and see, like, oh, well, that person's a junior partner at this law firm and they're only 32 or whatever. Meanwhile, you're still in the mailroom. I don't know, but that's easy. But maybe you're supposed to be there. Maybe God's preparing you where you're at to handle a position somewhere that you don't even understand yet. And if you're obedient to Him and you were learning and growing where you're at, maybe that's the position that He will give you in the future. If you trust in Him and you follow His guide and His path for your life. That's so hard for us to do, though, because we look around and we want, and I think some of that you had. What was your word of the year last year? It was like
content last year.
Content.
Yeah.
I always struggled the whole year with your word, because I was like, I just don't. That does not seem like a good word, like to be content. But I think it actually is a really good word. And mine this year is some version of that. It's not necessarily.
Let's just put it out there. It's content.
It is with an asterisk.
Quotes. Content.
Content. Yeah. but I think that when I rethink about that, though, like, content doesn't necessarily mean that you're stuck. Content means that you are living where you're at, not looking to where you could go, but being content in the moment, that doesn't mean that there's not something better for you around the corner. And I think that that's where I struggled with your word, which I don't know why I was struggling with your word, but I was. Maybe it's because we just spent a lot of time together all year. I was like, man, that bugs me. But
I was living in your head rent free all last year. I was in there.
Yeah, still are. Still comes up. It's like the third time I've talked about it on the show.
I'm in this house too, living rent free in here.
But I get it now though. And I think actually think that there is some success in being content in where you're at. Because where you're at is where you could go down, but if you've built a solid foundation where you're at, you're not going to backtrack. God's going to grow you into what's next. If you're constantly trying to pull up, on the ladder, like eventually the rung might break and you might fall, or you'll run into a brick wall because you're running in the wrong direction. I think us knowing where you're at, being comfortable where you're at, and growing from there is the pathway to success a lot of times.
Yeah, there's a lot of times in my life where I didn't know why I was struggling in the season, or why am I sitting in the one season. God's like, I need you to learn something before I can give you the next thing for sure. And he's like, I know you're going to get there eventually because I have it all mapped out. You're going to do it, but you got to sit here for a little bit. You got to be content with where you're at. And you got to learn. I got to be able to trust you before I can give you this next thing for sure. Many a time.
Probably a terrible way of thinking about it, but I do think about it this way sometimes. Where it's almost like, and maybe it's just the way I mentally find contentment in situations, but I think sometimes about like, there's got to be something I'm doing right now or something I'm not paying attention to that once it clicks, it will unlock what's next. Almost like leveling up in a game.
Video game.
You're like stuck in a level.
Gotta search this room until I can find the wall. There's the wall. Okay.
This is a nerd pool. So if you're a nerd like me, you'll remember this. But the Lord of the Rings game that came out on PlayStation 2,
right.
There was a level where you were trying to get into the where the dwarf cave is. Look, youth group kid, Lord of the Rings was a big deal. But you're trying to get into where the dwarf cave was, and you had to find this specific thing. I tell you this, I played that game with my brother every day. We could not find that thing. We never opened that door. But that's what it's like, I think. It's like I'm always kind of in whatever my situation is, I'm in this thing where like there's something I'm missing, and whenever it clicks, it's going to work, and I'm going to level up to the next like tier or the next thing that I'm supposed to be doing. I've thought that way about everything in my life since that moment. Like literally since then, playing ball, it's like if I figure out that one hitch I've got, I'm gonna hit the ball so much harder. Or like work, if I figure out that one thing I'm doing that's holding me back from being productive, I'm gonna level up. Or maybe it's a moral thing. It's like maybe what is the thing that I am just overlooking in my life that's a moral thing that's holding me back? I've always thought that way.
It reminds me of like those ads, the food ads or the health ads are like, this guy lost 50 pounds by removing this one thing from his diet.
Yes, I mean that's it. It's the same idea, but like I seriously think that way sometimes.
That's funny. Yeah, you gotta get on YouTube. You should have got on YouTube when you were a kid, man. That's where I was playing Zelda, and I was just blasting through Zelda in like a week because I was just watching somebody play it, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna play the level, and then I go back to the next level and then I watch them. So you just got to get on that.
Well, back then you could go to the game store and you would get the cheat code book.
That's true, the cheat code book. Which you could Google it then too, though.
Not when we were playing as Lord of the Rings.
No, okay.
I don't even think Google. I mean, Google was probably out by then, but it wasn't what it is now.
Yeah, at
all.
Yeah, I just watched I remember playing a lot of Zelda and just be like, go, because Zelda's kind of the same way. You're just trying to break through levels, but you just watch the guy and then you just do exactly what he did.
I'm not a good gamer, by the way. I'm absolutely terrible, and like so that doesn't help either.
Yeah.
Whenever you're not like actually invested, you just want to like. We just thought we were going to kill some orcs and deliver the ring. Like we didn't really know what we were doing.
That's the goal.
But I remember that so vividly. I can still see the cave because we played it so freaking much trying to beat that stupid level. We did not find success, and you know what we did? We threw the game away.
But I really do think you are on there about like sometimes it is just the moral thing. Like, I am doing something I shouldn't be doing. God's not going to let me get to that next level or the next thing that I need until I stop and I turn it over to him.
Which the verse that I could not find, I think would actually address that pretty well.
Let's teaser for next
Or
episode.
if you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comments so that we can be taught too, because we are still learning every single day.
Every day.
We are brokers of information, as we like to say.
100%.
And opinions on Super Bowl halftime shows.
Yep. But our opinions are correct, though.
I feel like they are.
Comment if you don't agree.
Schultz flagrant podcast, they do feelings no facts. They just throw out their opinions.
Yeah, I listened to, so it's funny, I listened to The Buzz in the morning, and he was talking about, he does a lot of trivia, Roger does, and he was talking about, like, you don't have to have the right answer to the trivia question that I give, you just have to have the same answer as me. So as long as we have the same answer, it doesn't have to be
That
right.
is the right answer,
the right answer. So,
I mean, hey, if you're the guy with the buzzer, you are the right answer.
yes, indeed.
But anyway, I hope we unlock success for you a little bit at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Or at least gave you something to think about. You know, if you're feeling down, you feel like you're not moving in life, or you feel like everything you do, you just come up and it's just not working out for you. First, let's reframe success. Let's reframe what our goals are with our life, where we're trying to go, what we're trying to do. You know, let's look to the Bible. Let's look to God for our ultimate, formation of this idea in our head of what success is. And then, like we wrapped up there, I think there are things, maybe God's prepping you where you're at and you're not ready for whatever the next tier is. And that's hard to swallow.
Oh, yeah.
But it is, I think it's a truth that I've experienced and think I continue to experience.
Yeah, it's like getting somebody saying, you want I can give you this promotion, but I'm going to give it to somebody else because you're not worth. You're like, I'm about to burn this whole building to the ground. I'm about to wreck everything in this place.
I'm gonna tell on myself for a sec.
Okay.
Nobody's.
It's the end of the episode.
Yeah, nobody's watching anymore.
It's just me and you talking in the mic.
Talking now. Yeah. When I was in insurance, I took a job and I did pretty good with it, and then I got another job, or I didn't get promoted. I kind of got promoted, but it was like a lateral up thing, and I was doing okay there. And then a team wanted me to come work for them. It was towards the end of my time in the business. And I think I was outworking my understanding at times towards the end. And so I got to this point where, like, I got on this team and I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue. I was literally, it was trial by fire every day. I mean, the names of the clients were scary on their own. Their names you would all know. And I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten into? Now I'm in meetings with, like, I went from me sitting at a desk talking to a salesman, calling clients and helping them with their problems, to, like, in boardrooms with attorneys and like politicians and people, like, working through these massive things. And I just remember thinking, like, I do not belong here. A lot of times we see the benefits of the promotion or the benefits of what's next, and we do not fully grasp
that's good.
the consequences
that's good.
What that looks like when you get there. And sometimes we got to weigh that too.
Yeah. It's like, if God gave you what you asked for, you might regret it.
Could you handle it?
You might regret it.
Yeah, could you handle it?
Yeah.
I know when I first entered ministry, even as a volunteer pastor, like, there were things that if I had been in different positions whenever I first started, I would have totally burned something down. Mm-hmm. I would have screwed something completely. Yeah. I think I was perfectly in the right spot with the right number of people around, the right team, and mentors and older people who checked me from time to time to keep me in check. I needed that. I think we all need that in our life.
100%.
But, well, hey, I know you're not there anymore. But if you are,
we love you.
We love you.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching to the end.
It's probably just Harold right now.
But yeah. What's up, Harold? Make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube.
Yep.
But also follow us on Instagram at TC Pointman.
Nice.
If you want updates there. And Facebook. Newly redubbed today.
Let's go.
That.church. Pointman. No more space
Let's
bar.
go. That's awesome.
Got it fixed this afternoon.
That's perfect.
It was one of my favorite things I did today.
Nice. That's a win. Yeah. Mark it down. February 10th.
February 10th. It's finally changed.
Sick.
It's only been a different name for 4 years. I think 3 years now.
No more Spaceman. Dang,
No more Spaceman. Spaceman's dead.
Golly.
We left him on the moon.
It's kind of like an end of an era. It feels like it's over now.
It was so stupid simple to
Dude, we were Spaceman, man, forever. In our hearts, we're still Spaceman.
I couldn't fix it for 3 years, and I had someone sit down and he fixed it in 10 seconds today.
That's pretty funny.
It's fixed now, but
we
follow us on all
we
the
weren't
things.
ready for it.
We weren't ready for it. That's right.
That's
So
why we
we're
didn't
about to
have it.
blast
Dude,
off into a new stratosphere now.
Let's go.
We're about to unlock something new. We hope you join us for it. So don't forget, meet us live February 25th, Greens at North Hills in Sherwood, Arkansas, if you're in that area. Cabot Community Place, if you're in the Cabot area. We'd love to see you come hang out with us as we dive into Real Talk, a new series that we're going to be putting out in Pointman. So it's going to be a good time. We'll see you then. Peace out. Bye.